All right. I'd like to call the Fire Board meeting to order for July 22nd, 2024. Ms. Dazoo, would you call roll, please?
Mr. Sinagra.
Step down.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Step
Mr.
down.
Joseph.
Present.
Mr. Havis.
I'm here.
Mr. Richtel.
Here.
Mr. Mayhew. Mr. Wells.
Here.
Mr. Bial.
Here.
Ms. Hyde.
Here.
Ms. Seatat. Here.
Here.
Public input, anyone wishing to address any agenda items? If not, hopefully everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes that were emailed to them for our June 22nd meeting. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sinagra.
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Mr. Havis.
Yes.
Mr. Richtel.
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Mr. Bial.
Yes.
Ms. Hyde.
Yes.
Ms. Seatat.
Yes.
Laura Gray is here to go over our audit. If you would come to the podium, please.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good and enjoying your summer. We're going to have to go back in time a little bit because these numbers are as of December 31st, 2023. I met with Ms. Hyde, Mr. Adkins, and Mr. James on June 26th. We went over the financial report, and we also went over the finding and the agreed upon procedures. And there really wasn't anything significant or controversial. So based off of that meeting and what was decided, we did submit the report on time to the legislative auditor on June 27th ahead of the June 30th deadline for reporting. So I've provided to you this little PowerPoint. Also in your packet is the actual audit report. Followed behind is the statewide agreed upon procedure. And when I mean your packet, your electronic packet. They were supposed to be provided to y'all. On top of that PowerPoint presentation, the printout that I provided to you was a letter. Here, and you notice the letter is dated June 26, 2024. And this is the second, it's called the letter to those in charge of governance. Y'all are management, y'all set the procedures, y'all manage, y'all oversee, you govern this board. So this letter is issued at the end of the audit. It discusses, you know, how it went. It went fine. There weren't any disagreements between management, James Lambert Riggs staff, or me. It all went well. They provided it. It also discusses, and we'll come back to this letter, the significant audit matter is the finding that y'all have, but it also goes in to also state the estimates. There's major financial estimates, that's an allowance or depreciation, those are estimates. But the biggest takeaway from this letter is that we all got along and the numbers we all agreed on at the end of the day were materially correct at the end of the day. So I had come to y'all in May before I had started the audit and had provided you a similar letter, and this is the final step of that. So we're gonna just jump straight into the little PowerPoint for y'all, and I'll go as quick as I can. I know y'all usually try to time me, and I'm watching it. I'm gonna do it. So we're gonna flip over again. No, don't put the 3 minutes on me. No way. You might could do 10 and I might get in there. If you want to stick it up there, that's fine. Okay, so again, the only 9 volunteer fire departments are reported in this audit report. Kentwood is a standalone. Flip over to the next page where it says highlights. On page 1 of the audit report, and I am not gonna ask y'all to go to the audit report. We're just gonna strictly stick to this PowerPoint here, but this is for your reference if later you wanted to go. Page 1 is the opinion letter, and that's what the audit is about, my opinion. And y'all received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which is the best opinion. And the opinion is basically, I'm stating that the financial statements, the financial position of the fire district and the 9 fire departments we discussed is presented fairly, reasonably stated. And what I really wanted to also remind you guys, this whole report, I don't prepare. James Lambert Riggs' office prepares. I prepare 5 sheets of paper that's in here. So I couldn't have done this without their help, and they're a really great firm to work with during your audit. Also, in this document, pages 5 through 8 is called Management's Discussion and Analysis. That's just for you if you want a 2-year comparison side by side. Your PowerPoint is a 5-year comparison. But it's a mandatory part of this report that the standard requires. But they've complicated it with all these charts and required language that it's not plain reading anymore. But if you want to read it, you can read it. It doesn't make any sense. Remember that on the volunteers, we're only reporting on public dollars. There's no fundraising or private money or private grants that did not run through fire number 2. And as again I said, Kentwood is not included. They have their own audit with the town of Kentwood. A highlight for the district overall increased its net position $905,511. And then the volunteers as a whole, if you add the 9 volunteers together, there's an increase in net position of $87,062. Next page, there were 5 volunteer departments that had positive change in net position. There were 4 departments that had negative change. But at the end of the year, all the volunteers had a positive net position, or a positive, in layman's term, a retained earnings. And this is good because for the past couple of years, Laranger has struggled to have a positive, and they have finally overcome the debt payments to have a positive net position. So that's great work. Continuing on, the next slide. This is from the information on page 10 of your audit report, and that's referred to as the statement of net position. This slide is just fire district number 2, and these are the assets. Your total assets as of 2023 was $18,798,728. Across the bottom, we have the categories. It's the very last total on the page, and it's the orange dot, is the year that we audited, 2023. So cash and cash equivalents for fire number 2 only, $1,760,194. A little investments, that was at LAMP, $1,131. Receivables, $7,694,785. That's primarily ad valorem tax with a little state revenue sharing thrown in there. Prepaid assets, $1,276. Right of use assets net of amortization, $270,653. That's the leased vehicles and leased radios. And then you have capital assets net of depreciation, $9,070,689. That's fire trucks, buildings, everything else that you outright own that you're not leasing, okay? And then just also on this slide, I wanted to show y'all have a total deferred outflow of resources, $505,123. That's the prepayment of that fire truck from 2022. And did y'all get it, Mr. Atkins, yet? Still don't have it. It's coming. I think y'all should have a parade when it gets here, because I want to see it. All right, flip over. This still is referencing page 10. This is again fire district number 2. Total liabilities. This is as of December 31st, 2023, $2,472,989. Total net position, $16,838,662. Across the bottom, you can see how it's broken out those liabilities. Accounts payable, $320,378. Due to volunteers, this is their fourth quarter allocation that they get in January of '24, $1,726,514. The current and non-current portion of the leases, $426,097. And then you have the different, the breakout of your net position between net investment and capital assets and the unrestricted net position of $7,915,617. All right, next. So this slide that's next, it's gonna say fire number 2 revenues at the top of it, and it's gonna reference page 14, which is the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance. And this is kind of what a governmental entity, this statement where these numbers are coming from, this is how your budget is adopted, is on this format. And these are really the numbers that y'all really focus on, revenues and expenditures. This page is the revenues and other financing source. So your total revenues for fire number 2, $8,869,908. And on that last column, last row at the bottom, the orange dot, the ad valorem taxes, the revenue is $7,341,233. State revenue sharing is $499,833. 2% fire insurance rebate, $553,623. State supplemental pay, $6,000. Interest income, $191,258. Municipal fire protection, $277,961, and then that's the rest of the revenues. Would like to state that you had a 3% increase over the prior year for ad valorem taxes, and that's right there. And but you can see the little, it's kind of flat on your, you'll see it right there. The 2% fire insurance rebate is a decrease from the prior year from $640,416 to $553,623. The 2% fire insurance rebate is not within the control of the district. This is statutorily, it comes from the state, so whatever they decide to give you, you get. But the positive thing on this slide that don't know if y'all are aware, the diligence of y'all changing where you have your bank and negotiating interest rates. Your interest rate, your income for the year is $191,258 compared to the year before, $59,075. So that's great. I know Mr. James helped in, in that interest income and negotiating your rate with First Guarantee Bank. So it's definitely helpful to further the purpose of the district. The municipal fire protection, the $277,968, included in that is the town of Independence. This is what they pay the district that they turn around and then pay to the volunteers. Just wanted to point out, because other people also pay for other, like, that's just not Independence. And I know y'all are probably in the talks about it, and it's not mentioned in here. The rate that the town of Independence pays fire number 2 hasn't gone up since the inception of that contract. So, that's something y'all might want to think. Everything else is going up. Definitely the fire truck insurance went up, right? That's like really bad. So, just think about that. And then you had other financing source from the lease. Whenever you get a new lease during the year, it's like you got a loan, and those are still considered an other source. So $168,807. That's that little tab there. All right, flip to the next page real quick. This is still going to be referenced into your page 14. Total expenditures, $9,049,772. If you add up salaries and benefits, accounting and auditing, and other administrative, those three numbers across the bottom come to $317,885. And when y'all adopt the budget for fire number 2, y'all adopt an administrative line. So this is within that amount that y'all had originally adopted. You have the pension fund mandate of $279,683. This is the amount that's deducted out of the tax levy for the sheriff and the assessor's pension. 2% fire insurance rebate. Y'all turn around and give that right back out to the volunteers, the $553,623. Fire contract payments, $7,042,655. It is increased $462,243 over the prior year, or an increase of 7%. It's just based off of the formula and the balance in the checkbook. That's how that is determined. But I do know y'all are discussing possibly changing the formula or everything going in the future. All right, we'll flip over. So this is a new slide. I took out that one that nobody really could read, that had all the fire departments like crammed in there on one little page. Just for your information, this is coming from page 16 and 17 of the report. These totals are on page 17. This is the total of all the volunteers. And these are the funds that y'all manage. Cash and cash equivalents, I'm just gonna round off, $5.7 million, investments $323,000, due from other governments. This $1.5 million, that's due from Fire 2. This is what Fire 2 owes the group, okay? Due from Independence Volunteer, $45,000, due from Laranja Volunteer, $92,000. This is when Ponchatoula and Manchac lent the money to these two fire departments. This is what is owed to those two fire departments. Prepaid assets, $97,726. That's primarily insurance. And capital assets, these are assets that are outright owned by those volunteers. They are not Fire Number 2 assets. These are volunteer assets. $1,642,249. Total assets, $9,404,947. And then you can see in the next category, the liabilities, you have accounts payable, payroll taxes, and payroll for accrued salaries, current obligations, long-term obligations, for a total liabilities of $1,085,028. And then down below is the net position that's broke out between net investments and capital assets, $1.6 million, and restricted for other purposes, which is for firefighting, $6.6 million. So that's the net position of all 9 volunteers together. And then the next page is going to be from the slides on page 18 and 19 of the audit report. And this is the non-volunteers all added together. And this is an upside down format. It's going to show you the expenses. The non-volunteers expended $8,818,378. Program revenue, which consists of fees for services, that's independents, paying for fire services, that's a fee for service, or any type of grants. $1,410,149. At this point, you have a net program expense of $7,408,229. But general revenues, which is the property tax, 2%, and state revenue sharing, $7,495,291. This is the positive net change for all 9 of them rolled up together is $87,062. So again, if you want to specifically say how the fire department in your district did, you should look at pages 18 and 19 in the electronic report that is attached on your iPad. We'll quickly go through here. On it's page 35 of the audit report, note 8. This is the long-term debt of Fire Number 2 only. Just wanted to point out 4 new vehicle leases were entered into during the year. And we did pay off 1 lease during the year. But at the end of the year, between the radio lease and all the vehicles, and that's the schedule of the vehicles there that y'all have on lease, this is the second to last column, $426,097 is what the district owes on that debt, and $161,497 is what you're gonna pay in 2024 on that debt. Next page, if you wanted to see on page 37, that's the discretely presented units, component units. It's the monies that the 2 fire departments owe each other, and there's Natal Benny owes USDA for a loan they had. That's in there. and everybody was in compliance with their loan and debt service. Budget comparison schedule, page 42. Y'all were in compliance with the 5% law for either the expenditures and other uses and the revenues and other sources, but there's no need for us to really look at it. Flipping on over. So this is on page 46. So this is the report on internal control. So during my audit, I issued 2 opinions. The first opinion is on, am I saying the financial statements, how are they? And I'm saying they are materially correct. That's the financial statements. The second opinion, it's not really an opinion. I have to test and tell you about your internal controls. And this is the second letter in the back. And as a result of my audit tests and procedures, I'm saying I didn't note any deficiency in internal control over financial reporting. And that's discussed in that letter. What is a deficiency? It could be a material weakness or it could be a significant deficiency. But I'm saying there's no deficiency in internal control over financial reporting. In that same letter, it does mention the compliance finding. There is a compliance finding in that letter. So regarding findings, y'all had a finding last year regarding the prepayment of the fire truck. That's been resolved. Y'all resolved that immediately at that same meeting because now y'all have prohibited any prepayment of fire trucks, that won't be finished within your 12-month period. And then the district does have one finding, and I just want to say real quick, the discretely presented component units did not have any findings at all. So if everybody could quickly, and I'm sorry, I'm not going as fast as y'all will need me to. That letter, remember this letter that I gave y'all at first? So I'm going to read the finding to y'all. It's on the very first page, and it says compliance. And it's the number of the audit is, the finding is Fire 2301, violation of Louisiana Revised Statute 382241, written contract and bond criteria. Louisiana Revised Statute 382241A1 states that whenever a public entity enters into a contract in excess of $5,000 for the construction, alteration, or repair of any public works, the official representative of the public entity shall reduce the contract to writing and have it signed by the parties. Section A2 states that for each contract in excess of $25,000 per project, the public entity shall require the contractor a bond with good, solvent, and sufficient surety in a sum of not less than 50% of the contract price for the payment by the contractor or subcontractor to claimants as defined in Revised Statute 383342. That section goes on to state that the bond, along with the contract, shall be recorded in the office of the Recorder of Mortgages in the parish where the work is to be done no later than 30 days after the work has begun. Condition. On February 2nd, 2023, the fire administrator signed a contract in the amount of $41,780 for the construction of an addition to an existing fire station. The contract was not recorded and a bond was not received. On March 8, 2023, a purchase order was prepared by the fire administrator for the framing and building out of a fire station in the amount of $47,245.90. Subsequent invoices were submitted as phases were complete. When asked for the contract, I was provided with an unsigned contract for phase 1 in the amount of $11,811.46. The total amount paid for this project was $54,244.68. There is no signed contract and a bond was not provided. On May 17, 2023, the district paid a vendor $18,200 for the electrical wiring of a new building and tying it into an existing building. There was no contract, only a handwritten bid with no signatures. Cause the fire administrator and the chiefs of the volunteers do not understand state law. Projects are piecemealed in an effort to save money instead of using a general contractor for the entire project. Effect, the district is in violation and the district the district is in violation of state law, and the district would have no recourse against the individual for breach of contract since there is no contract. Recommendation: all public works projects for all departments should be approved in advance by the fire board. No project should be started without the fire administrator verifying that a completed contract has been signed by all parties, and if required, a bond has been received and both have been recorded with the clerk of court. The fire administrator should maintain the project file. So, number one is one station house. That's the addition to Independence. That's number one. Number two and number three is the Laranja Fire Station. So I understand wanting to save money, and I'm not saying you have to have a general contractor. I'm just saying there has to be a plan. You got to know what the total cost of the project's going to be instead of piecemealing it. And the other side is liability. You got to protect yourself. So there's no written contract that anybody signed. It wasn't signed with the court, the clerk of court, and there's no bond in case that person who's building it hired some subs to come in. If they go to the courthouse to try to, say, file for non-payment, you don't have a bond, and you got to pay it. So that's that. I talked to Mr. Adkins about it, and it really rests on y'all when you have these fire chiefs coming and talking to y'all. I want to do this, I want to do that. It's still very important that the fire administrator be involved in the front end, not after the fact, and he maintains the file. Because he would be the one that, okay, did it get recorded? Do I have the bond? Where's the contract? Where's the change order? So that's the only finding y'all had on that. And look, I know that's the fire station that y'all were having to fix up after the hurricane. So with these type of findings, you can't fix them. You just need to go forward and don't let it happen again. So that was your only finding. And then on the next page, we're going to do this really quick. So y'all had statewide agreed upon procedures. I know y'all know about this from the Tangipahoa Parish government audit. There were 14 procedures with various tests. Y'all only had 4 exceptions. The page numbers are referenced to the electronic copy you have. November and December of 2023, per the minutes in your packets, the budget to actual statements were not presented. That's just an oversight. Y'all had a lot of changes at the end of the year. Spoke to Mr. Adkins, and that's going to be taken care of going forward. The second exception was the administrator basically cannot approve his own Visa credit card. So this was 3 out of the 5 credit card charges tested. Elise had approved her own charges. So the president or a vice chair, if the president's not available, should at least be approving the Visa charge before y'all send it to payment. Credit card late fees, 1 out of 5 of the credit cards tested had a late fee. But you can just blame the mail on that. I mean, and then the required cybersecurity training, Elise failed to do the cybersecurity training. The elected officials tested, and Mr. Adkins had all done their cyber and sexual harassment and ethics. So that's that. So that's not bad. So, and that was that. Really want to tell y'all how much I have appreciated y'all's support over the years, using me and my firm and entrusting me to do the audit. And really want to thank Dennis James and his firm. They were very accommodating this year. They had a young lady there he had kind of assigned to us, Jessica Bracata, and we really aggravated her a lot, and she took it in stride and got us everything we needed. We did the AUPs a couple of weeks early before we did the audit, and it really went smooth this year. And would really wanted to point that out. His firm does a great job. And I've enjoyed getting to know Mr. Adkins. I think he's going to do good for y'all. But y'all do need to tackle your capital assets. That should be for '24. But again, thank y'all. If y'all have any questions after you get your books, you have my email and my phone. Just please give me a call. Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you, Laura. All right, first thing on the agenda is Independence Fire Matters.
Good evening. Try to be short. Independence has a ratification. I don't know if y'all want to do them all at one time or if you want to do them separately. They have a ratification of a part-time position, one of a full-time position, a pay raise, one of them got a certification. What do you get a certification in? Firefighter 1 certification. And then cost of living raises for his part-time positions. He got full-time, got the cost of living in January for all his full-time. He's asking for his part-time to get
Let's
cost
take
of
them
living.
separate, just so it'll be straight in the
Yeah,
minutes.
okay,
The first one is ratification of a part-time position.
right.
Need a motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis? Mr. Richtel?
Yep.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Next one is the full-time positions. There are two. Need a motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Joseph. Who second? Havis?
Havis.
Second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joseph? Mr. Havis? Mr. Richtel?
Yep.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
The next one is ratification of the pay raise for firefighter 1. Is that correct?
Correct.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yep.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
The last one is ratification of the 2024 cost of living pay raises for the part-time positions.
Correct.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Richtel?
Yep.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Manshak,
Yes, Manshak, we want to purchase a Lucas device. It's a chest compressions. They don't have anything down there with that on the truck. So we would like to purchase one for Manshak Fire Department. As you know, Ponchatoula is manning it now, so we need to get them some medical equipment in case they have anything down there in that area.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
have a motion by Ms. Ciotat, second by Mr. VL. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia? Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richtel?
Yes.
The next one is to repair the roof at Manshak Fire Department. They have some pretty good sized holes in the roof. We're gonna rip it all off and put a new roof on it. We figure we need to start at the roof area first before we start doing anything inside. So we're we got 3 quotes and we're going with the quote we have at the top. Pride Roofing.
I actually went out to Manshak last weekend. When I got the agenda, I called Chief Joyner and wanted to take a ride out there, and appreciate you taking me around. I didn't climb on the roof, but you could definitely see where we need some improvements there. So I'd like to make that motion.
Yes, sir.
Is this just age or damage from a storm?
Just age.
So it's-
I think over time, it's just kind of what we kind of figured out. It's
Is it
just
another
age.
claim on our insurance, or are we paying that? Oh,
No, we're just paying this out of their money to get it fixed. We're gonna start there, and then we're gonna reevaluate and look around and see what else we wanna tackle next round.
I think there's a motion on the floor. I'll second.
Thank you. Have a motion by Ms. Ciotat, second by Mr. VL. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Bridget, may I interject something?
Yes, sir.
George has retired. I attended his ceremony. It was nice. A few of us, Chief Clue and I came. And I want to thank him for his service, though, to the parish and to the state. And wish him well in his retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. All right, Hustler Fire Matters.
Hustler's ratification of a full-time position.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Ingraffia, second by Mr. Joseph. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells?
Yes.
All right, Laranja Fire Matters.
Laranja, ratification of pay raise for promotion from driver to captain.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Ingraffia, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Next one is ratification pay raise for certification. This individual got firefighter 1 certification.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Ingraffia, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
The next is the ratification of cost of living pay raise for the Department of Laranja for all his employees.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Ingraffia, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis? Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Next is Wilmer Fire Matters.
So Wilmer is asking to purchase a skid unit to put in the back of a truck for brush fires. He did get 3 bids. We kind of went over the bids. You can see the one we wanting to go with is BGS. It's a little bit more than the other 2. The reason for that being is the serviceability of it. One of them's in Virginia and the other one's in South Dakota. So we felt like BGS would be the better option since it's in Gonzales.
And what are they getting?
A skid unit, put in the back of the truck for wildfires.
Okay.
Sits in the truck, yeah. So that's the reason why I'd rather go with the BGS one, just for the serviceability of it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sinagra, second by Mr. Ingraffia. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
All right, 8th Ward.
So 8th Ward has a ratification of a full-time position.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Who made the motion? Mr. Vial?
Over here. VL.
Second by Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Monthly reports and registers. That should have all been emailed.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions on those? Okay. Take both of those together. Need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Sinagra. Roll call, please.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Administrator's report.
Yes, we would like to surplus an Arctic Cat 4-wheeler that's under USAR. They've been having some issues with it in the last time, or this time when they was gonna bring it to the shop, it was gonna cost like $1,000 to fix it. It was 2007, I think it is. So we decided to replace it and surplus this one on Gov Deals instead of keep putting money in it.
So move.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Ridgetill, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ridgetill? Mr. Mayhew? Mr. Wells? Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
I think the next would be for Mr. James.
Good evening, everybody. Fire District Number 2 has an account with LAMP, the Louisiana Asset Management Pool. I think all of y'all are familiar with that. The purpose of this resolution is to change the authorized check signers. We don't use LAMP very often, but currently the authorized check signers is Dennis Crocker and Carlo Bruno. So we can't transact business until we have new authorized signers adopted. If you adopt this resolution, I'll send it down to LAMP and they'll make that change this week. So that's the purpose of that.
Also move.
Second.
All right, have a motion by Mr. Vial, roll call, second by Ms. Ciotat. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayhew? Yes. Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Ridgetill?
Yep.
The next is resolution calling for a special election.
This is what Jim was talking about. This is just the resolution
Right.
to call for the
I
election.
think we need to read this one, though, since we're calling the election.
We'll let David read it. You want me to read it?
Sure, I'll read it.
I'll read it if you want me to. You want me to
My
read it?
glasses on. Adoption of TPRFP number 2, resolution 2408, a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in Rural Fire Protection District number 2 of the parish of Tangipahoa, state of Louisiana, the district, on Saturday, December 7th, 2024. The purpose of authorizing a renewal of a 10 mil ad valorem tax on assessed valuation of all property subject to taxation in the district for a period of 10 years, for the purpose of maintaining and operating the district's fire protection facilities, for maintaining, operating, and purchasing fire trucks and other firefighting equipment, and paying the cost to obtain water for fire protection purposes, including charges for fire hydrant rentals and services, and providing emergency services to the residents of the district, and further making application to the State Board Commission for consent and authorization to hold the aforesaid election, and further providing for other matters in connection therewithin.
Important election. I will make a motion, we adopt.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Vial, second by Mr. Havis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wells? Yes. Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Ingraffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Ridgetill?
Yep.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Next is discussion and possible action to hire a PMI resource company for Tangipahoa Parish Rural Fire Protection number 2. I think everybody had a chance to look at the presentation. Is there any questions? I have Mr. Mark here and Chad with the PMI resource company. If y'all would like to ask them any questions.
No, I just think, at one point along the way, we kind of combined our efforts in the finance piece of the business. And this would kind of combine our efforts in the human resource piece of the business, get it all electronic, get everybody up to speed. A lot of stuff would be done online now. Everything would be documented. There's a lot of stuff out there that we're probably missing, you know what I'm saying, because we don't have the right processes and procedures in place. So I think it's an important next step that we need to probably go ahead and hire these guys. But I know the rest of y'all went to some of these meetings yourself, so I'll leave it on the table.
Y'all know I don't say much, but I was kind of looking through everything, and since we're here for discussion, I'll just bring out, I had a couple of questions. For me, to just be very blunt, cost is when I look at the cost, I kind of took a step back. I ran on being fiscally conservative. And when I look at the cost, I just had to stop and think for a second. And then looking at the services, I had asked a couple of questions after the meeting, but are these things that, like David, that you do, that the chiefs already do, that are on that very first page of our packet? Because I'm looking at them, and I know there were some things that were missing, like Mr. Vial said, to get everything kind of streamlined and together. But for me, I'm a little concerned only because of cost.
So this would eliminate the 5 CPAs we have doing payrolls. So that's part of the cost in that. Gathering all the required documents, the training that we got an audit finding on. It puts all that in one spot where you can grab a hold of it. I'm not sure exactly what else was in there. Dennis James is still going to be the CPA for us. He's going to take care of all the money as far as that goes. They're just doing the human resource aspect of it and the management of the personnel. The onboarding, the HIPAA violations, if they send me stuff in the mail for drug screens and health and wellness, I get that stuff now I shouldn't be looking at that kind of stuff. So that would all tell, onboarding process. If the chief needs somebody hired, he'd call, me and call the resource company and would say, all right, we want to hire this guy. They would put him through all the training that needs to be done right off the bat. So he's got everything involved in training.
So who's doing that right now? The chiefs are
Just
doing that?
individually doing it. They'll call in Telecorp and do a background check. They'll go to North Oaks and do, physicals and things of that nature. And then when I see it, it's usually a ratification that they're hiring the certain individual.
Has it been a problem to do it like that?
It's not been a problem, other than giving me some of the documents that I probably don't need in my possession. So,
Do you know how much money we're gonna be saving for them doing some of the stuff versus what was the other departments?
looking at some things, I'd have to really sit back down and look again, but you're gonna save probably, the last I looked, about $8,000 a year.
And we're paying $85,000.
Around about that right now.
So we save about how much, would you say?
About 8,000 if I had to go back and look at my numbers again. From CPAs,
So this number would save us 8,000. I want to understand that. Okay.
And we still get to keep Mr. James?
yes, oh yeah, definitely.
Long as he don't go up too much more.
I mean, we've had some meetings with him. Mr. James was in favor of it. I did talk to Butch last week. I actually went over there and put my hands on their company and looked at things, because they use it in West Baton Rouge. And talking to Butch a little bit more about it for what he's trying to do consultant-wise, this was just a good addition to add into from after talking to him last week.
Was the previous administrator handling all this that we have involved here?
I'm assuming he was.
It's really,
A lot of it didn't get done, though. I was president at the time. I was getting called every day.
we had a brief meeting last week, and it was about 45 minutes or so. I didn't get enough information out of it to make any kind of decision. At the end of the meeting, we were handed a pamphlet. It wasn't a presentation, which I thought was going to be like more of a presentation. What I understood them to tell us is that all the fire departments, they're employees of the parish. Is that correct?
I'm Mark Wineski, CEO of PMI, so thank you. Technically, yes, sir, they are. At the audit presentation tonight, you had an audit finding on one of your employees. State legislative auditor said that they're yours. You signed a monthly stock warrant for the state supplemental pay, which certifies that you're an employee. So, I mean, when we talked about it in the meeting, I think last Tuesday, it was known that when this tax was really originally passed, you had true volunteers, and you were putting equipment and stations in place. Now you're having to hire personnel for a whole host of reasons, in addition to putting stations and personnel in place. Those employees, even though they are recognized through 10 sub-districts, they are technically employees of this parish. And you've got 2 government agencies that have said, yes, they're yours. This is really a cost neutral from your internal costs that you're paying now for the 5 independent CPAs. So it does not replace Mr. James. In fact, I think it will enhance working with him going forward, because we'll have one source of information versus 5 separate sources. So that I really designed this for a long-term relationship and to be cost neutral in the entry of the relationship for the parish. But at the end of the day, please, understand that you're the ones that are it. You're the employer for these employees.
Why can't we use our HR that we have in place now if they are employees of the parish?
We don't have HR.
We don't have it.
And this is a separate tax ID number for the bond that you
So it's
levy.
not- we wouldn't be able-
No, sir, it's not the exact same group. And these employees do not receive any parish benefits, to my understanding, as a traditional parish employee would be. So think of it as 2 separate bonds, 2 separate tax ID numbers. That is really part of the legal separation between a District 2 versus a parish employee.
The fee that you're asking for, if we have to get any kind of legal work done, would that be additional?
You have
fees?
outside counsel now, yes, sir. I mean, it would require that. We did do, through Chad Dannenhauer Law, a cursory review of several of your current contracts and agreements, and they need some work.
But that would be a separate entity from this.
Yes, sir.
I'm
not an attorney,
I do realize that our contracts need to be looked at, trust me. That's part of the program down the road, yes.
Yes, sir.
But, okay,
But that would, I'm not an attorney, so I don't practice.
got it.
But you do have an attorney here, right? So
I
if
do.
if he has to do something, then that's additional fees to the 85,000. Is that correct?
I would ask that you would engage Dannenhauer Law Firm separately from PMI, kind of like you have a separate engagement with your current legal, just to make it very clean lines.
But if you wanted to clean up our contracts, maybe this gentleman's affiliated or understands this business, but we would have to get an attorney anyway to go clean up
You
our
have to get an attorney, and Mr.
Yeah.
Dannenhauer, to speak for him, has worked
Got it.
with me
Okay.
for, I think, 7 years now. And he represents multiple fire districts in St. Tammany Parish, so he has a thorough background in fire and the understanding of the fire relationships that you have to deal with. But again, I priced it as a revenue-neutral proposal that would be replacing the 5 CPAs that are providing payroll and general accounting work for those 10 subdivisions.
The first thing that really caught my attention was the price, and I hear we saying that we're paying just $8,000 short of that now, but maybe I missed the justification, but I haven't really seen that, and so I would just like, I don't know if anybody else would like, but it hasn't been enough time for me to kind of just make up my mind and just accept it, and I don't know if the fire board would like to give us a little bit more time to kind of study before we make up our mind. It seems like everybody else pretty much got their minds made up tonight, but I know I don't.
Well, I'd like to bring up too, $8,000 is $8,000, but at the same time, we are, and no offense, but we're employing people right here if we keep those 5 CPAs. So that's just something that, I'd like to maybe chew on a little bit.
Right, we have audit findings, we have violations to our accepted procedures, and it's all related to HR issues.
Yeah, but we have had audit findings before that we were able to work out, and so I mean, we can work these out also.
Yeah,
Maybe they wouldn't have occurred if we would have had this firm engaged. I understand that part, now. But I'm just saying, it's not that we don't have the ability that we can't work out the findings.
I hear the concerns, and if it's a concern, it's a concern. I'm just thinking back to before we engaged Mr. James in getting our financial piece cleaned up. I mean, we had a lot going on in the background, a lot of different things going on, you know, and I just feel like this is an opportunity probably to get that cleaned up, get it all in an electronic database, get it all at the fingertips to where we got, you know, but if some other folks need more information, then we need to get them that, okay? I mean, I'm not.
Well, and that's what I was gonna
I'm not
ask.
gonna argue against that, okay?
The agenda said discussion and possible vote, I think. Is it possible that we could just maybe have another meeting to just,
I think if we
ask
do that,
some
it's important
questions?
that we really, yes, get our list of questions, whatever that is. And I
Right.
think that we need to be prepared if we bring these gentlemen back in, or whoever we bring back in, and have those discussions. But I think that we need to be prepared at that meeting to lay it out on the table and get all our questions out and get them answered.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
me, but I just don't see myself rushing into it tonight.
Not a problem.
And I understand Mr. James, and when they came on board, that was quite different, and they have done, and I'll say it out of my mouth, they have done an excellent job.
Yeah, the only thing is that we do work with numerous fire departments around the state, from volunteer to paid. We have the only 2 accredited fire departments that are internationally accredited in the state, both District 1 and District 4, and Slidell and Mandeville respectively. And I think there was, before we dug into this process, a belief that you technically, as the parish council and now the fire commissioners, were not the employers of these 100-plus employees. But the short answer is you are. And that's a concern I think everybody should shoulder, as well as let us help you fix that. When it comes to your 5 CPAs, I've not spoken with any one of them. I'm sure they have great reputations, but you're doing things 5 different ways for 10 different departments. And when you have one employer doing things 5 different ways for 10 different departments is not a good solution set.
And financially, that's what we were doing before we engaged Mr. James. That's exactly what we were doing. I know, and if people have concerns, and we need to answer those. You know, I personally think it's a good direction to head in.
Oh, I'm not saying
I know.
it's, yeah, okay.
And I think, but people have concerns, I think they need to be answered.
And I think the benefit
okay with doing
to your employees are the access. Everybody will have their own, custom employee portal. They'll be able to pull pay stubs, W-2s, policies and procedures, things of that nature. So there'll be a lot of benefit directly to those 100-plus full and part-time members that you employ that they are not receiving today, in addition to the core HR services that we offer.
I know we discussed, if you did implement this program, would it bring civil service to the fire departments?
That would be a vote by this board to bring in civil service, but it would not be required.
I mean, you said we could opt out in the meeting.
Yes, sir.
It's
But if
just
you
that
think about
simple?
it, there's north of 500 fire departments registered with the State Fire Marshal's Office, and maybe 140 that are recognized by the State Examiner's Office. So there is no legal requirement for you to be recognized by the State Examiner.
Okay.
That would be a choice by this board, and you actually have departments inside the 10 subdivisions that have the employee count to qualify for being recognized by civil service that are not. So you've had multiple years of one of your, or several of your 10 separate departments that could qualify for State Examiner recognition but are not recognized today. The other part that came up that was a concern was, being required to go into the firefighter retirement system. If you go to their website, there's actually an opt-out form on the website. So that is not a forced requirement. That would be a requirement that the board would vote in. This fire board. Yes, sir. I mean, when we met last Tuesday, I believe the parish HR was there, and she had some concerns about the consistency as well that we would resolve. And we would, obviously, if we need to run anything through their department to make sure there's consistency, we'd be more than happy to do that as well.
Any other? I don't have any other questions. I'm just gonna say, look, I'm okay with additional discussion to be sure people feel comfortable being on board. I think it's a good idea, a good direction to head in. Sometimes it just takes a little bit more dialogue and discussion before you get somewhere.
We're here for the
It's all
long
good.
run.
Johnny?
don't have a problem with the HR part, because we gotta clean some stuff up. The 5 CPAs that does our payroll, these people live in this parish, they pay taxes, okay? I would like to keep those people, even if we went with HR. What's to say that this company, 2-3 years from now, jacks the price up? You're not saving any more money. I didn't experience that with different firms. But that'd be up to y'all. But that was my only concern, and the board, it's gonna be y'all decision at the end of the day what you wanna do. But I have a personal relationship with my CPA that I could get on the phone with and talk to. Okay? You're getting painted a pretty picture. What's gonna happen down the road, what it's gonna cost this fire board and these fire departments. That's all I'm saying. I like the concept, Mr. Vial, and it needs to be cleaned. Some things need to be cleaned up. But I think I'm asking you to table it tonight for further discussion. Thank you.
Look, I'm okay with tabling it tonight, but Johnny, I'm just gonna say, some of these conversations we're having, I remember having them before we hired Dennis James. It's kind of the same thing, okay? I feel like I'm going back in time a little bit here, okay? Except a different
If you want to
subject.
say something, you need to come to the podium and be recognized.
Okay, so,
Paul, wait, Mark, one of the chiefs has a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, one thing to start with, I have a question, and I don't know. He said that we are parish employees. Did he mean to speak fire district employees? Because I think the fire district is a different entity than
Yes.
the parish.
He means District 2.
District 2 employees.
Yes.
Okay, they're not parish employees.
No, sir.
Right,
So they'd be fire district employees.
correct.
It is my understanding that if you're an employee of a fire district, you're required to be civil service.
No, sir.
You're already a employee of fire district, and you're not civil service now.
I'm an
so it's not
employee
gonna-
from Hammond Rural Fire Department. I'll agree it's kind of ambiguous, but I get my check from Hammond Rural Fire Department. You contract Hammond Rural Fire Department to do your work. You could get rid of Hammond Rural Fire Department and contract Joe Blow's grass cutting service to do your firefighting also. You just contract with me. I sign a contract every year and say, I'm gonna provide this service. So I work for Hammond Rural. That's my understanding. And he says there is an opt-out on the firefighter's retirement. If you're a fire district, to my knowledge, now, I may be a little bit back on the laws. To my knowledge, the way it used to be, if you're a fire district employee or a municipality employee, there was a sunset time when you had to be in it or not. You had the option. After that sunset, you had to be in it. Now, he says there's an option out. I do not know that it is, and I'll ask to see that.
It's actually listed on the firefighter retirement system website.
He may be right, but I'm agreeing with Johnny. Let's put it off, because I talked to Ms. Hyde, and she said, and there are probably some things that we don't need in there, and there may be some other things that we do need to put in there. I'm not opposed to all of it. I say, yes, we do need some of it, but let's make sure we're getting what we want, because we can over-regulate ourselves out of business. And trust me, when you get into regulations and you get into stuff like, okay, we got to go by NFPA recommendations. That's 4 people on every truck, 120 people on duty in the parish the whole time. So it's a balancing act that we need to watch what we're doing. So please, I recommend put it off and let's discuss it some more. And if you want me to sit in with my little bit of knowledge,
I'll be glad to do that. But please, let's put it off and make sure. And I was told that Butch Browning said, he recommended we put it off till we finish the budget stuff. Because we got a pretty big mountain to climb here in the next couple of months during the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right.
Just to maybe address a couple of the questions, and I appreciate all the comments. My business completed its 35th year of business June 1st. We've been working with fire departments for over almost 22 years now. We started with District 1 in Slidell. They were under a cancellation notice for their insurance because of human resource failures. But please understand, PMI only advises, we don't tell any person what truck to get on, pull hose, spray water. My middle son is a paramedic firefighter for the city of Bossier City, excuse me. And we're here to help you. There's going to be a lot of change that technically is here today that will require some, let me restate it this way. One of the greatest comments I heard was from a firefighter and said, we absolutely cannot stand where we are right now, but we don't want to change. Well, in your situation, you're going to have to change because technically you're the employer, and I think that issue has been danced around for years, not by your fault, just by you inherited it. But now that you know, some action needs to be taken, whether it's my company or any other company, I would implore you to take action. When it comes to pricing, I priced a long-term game. District 1, which I've mentioned several times, I've had my first price increase to them in the last 12 years. And the chief and the chairman of the board came to me and said, please look at your fee. You've been doing this for the same fee for 12 years. I didn't come in here to do a switch and bait. We're not selling cars, so it's not, give me this price today and I'll give you another price tomorrow. I priced this out for a long-term relationship. I know that I will be upside down in the first year. I want to put more work in than this fee will justify. But again, it is a cost-neutral position. And yes, I do have an office in Covington, and I have a house in Covington as well. So I'm close. I'm not up in Bossier City, which I know is north of I-10-12, which is Yankee land, but I got a Polish last name, so I'm kind of fit that boat anyway. And I'm the only one in the state, except for my boys, so if you can spell it, you can find me. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. But again, whether you take action tonight, we're in this for the long term. We'd love to work with you. There's things that I know that we can fix that need to be fixed. But again, this board would make the decision and vote to go civil service. This board would make the decision to put in benefits. This board would make the decision to put in retirement. That is not anything forced upon you by, fixing where you are today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I move that we table until our next meeting, and in the interim, we can have the opportunity to ask questions or whatever we need to ask.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Wells, second by Mr. Ridgestill to table until our next meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vial?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Ms. Ciotat?
Yes.
Mr. Sinagra?
Yes.
Mr. Graffia?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Havis?
Yes.
Mr. Ridgestill?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
All right.
Madam Chairman, is it? Can we, if we're gonna table this to the next meeting, since we did table it, can we throw Butch Browner's name out a lot. Paul said this, David Atkins said he suggested, can we have Butch Browner here to,
We actually have a meeting with Butch Thursday morning.
okay.
So,
So can we get a solid?
Yes.
What does Butch say the next
Yes.
time we,
and I don't know, how do y'all want to handle this meeting? Do y'all want to submit questions to a committee, or do we do an open meeting? No, y'all have questions, y'all want to discuss it. Who's going to discuss it? Where are we going to meet? I mean, we need to.
You're the president.
Yes, sir.
So we have 2 weeks, so maybe we can't get.
No, we have a
Use your
month. You
microphone.
need to turn your microphone
Microphone,
on. You need to turn your microphone on.
We have a month, so just, I mean, if we have a month to do it, so give us a couple of days and then we'll, then you let us know. when we-
Okay,
when we're gonna
I'm
have
just
session
asking, do we
work
form
there.
a
We don't have
separate
to do it
committee?
with-
Do we use our budget committee and y'all email your questions and we get them back to you? I'm just want to
I-
know who
I
wants
guess
to
we-
meet, who needs information,
Well, I have some questions that I want to ask.
okay?
Yeah.
Personally,
do.
I would like to meet because I think we can
Yeah,
kind of
I'd rather
bounce
meet too, so
off
we
of
can
each
have-
other.
I'm sorry.
Okay, but we can't all 10 meet together, so I need 5 people.
Special fire meeting, you can.
Well, do y'all want to do that? Y'all want to,
No.
I'm asking, how do y'all want to handle this?
Madam Chairman, I just think that we ought to meet, because in meeting together, even though we might have questions, even though there might be the duplications, or they may not be the same, at least we get to establish dialogue back and forth and get
You talking about a special
everything.
meeting? Oh,
I'm not talking about,
or just a committee meeting? It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, if
Doesn't
we
matter
can
to
meet
me, I'm
in
just
the groups
asking,
of,
who
I
needs-
mean, we
who
don't have
wants
to
to
have a
be there?
special meeting.
Okay.
Like 4 or 5 of us can meet one time, 4 or 5 speak at a time, however we want to do it.
Has everybody sat in on one of these human resource meetings?
Yes.
Well, there you go, see, yeah, okay. That's important.
I mean, we can hold a special council meeting after the next drainage meeting. Do y'all want to do that? I'm asking how you want to handle it.
that after the next parish meeting, we can have.
Well, yeah, we could do it again.
That way everybody's here.
Turn your mic on.
We could have it after the next parish council meeting, that way everybody on the board is here.
Okay.
And then we can
That's
ask
okay
some
with
questions,
y'all.
have a dialogue. Yeah, I think so.
But then we'll have our
Joey?
questions in order, you know?
Okay?
Everybody's good with that?
I was simply going to suggest that all you need to do is publish your special meeting.
Right.
If certain people can't attend and they don't have questions, it's not particularly a big deal, right? It's as long as the people with questions have the opportunity to interact with Mr. Winiski or whoever he sends. So I was just trying to facilitate that.
Thank
for
you, Chad. Okay, so we'll call a special fire board meeting after the next council meeting.
And I just think everybody needs to give it a lot of thought.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's an important move, and I think, you know, if you got questions, we need to hammer them out. We need to figure it out.
Anybody else? Johnny?
Mr. Bush Brown is very knowledgeable of the civil service laws and state retirement. And he could answer probably most of your question when it comes to those two issues.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we are meeting with him Thursday morning at Mr. Dennis James' office. If you have something you want us to ask Butch, would you email that to me? And we'll get that answered before Thursday morning? Okay? All right. David, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Ms. Coates is here. She had asked for a few minutes to address the council.
We done got our money's worth out of her.
The fire board. All right.
I just realized that it's been almost 5 years since I've been on this side of the table. It's been a while, but it's good to be home. It's good to be here. It's good to see all of you. I just wanted to kind of briefly update everyone about 2 bills from this past spring. I had received some calls from some of the chiefs about SB 489 because it could have affected some of our all of our departments of where some of the duties from the fire marshal's office would have been put onto the local fire departments. I opposed it in the first vote. There was a lot of discussions going back and forth, but then it was moved to a new fiscal year to give time to study it before it moved forward. So then the Fire Association did not oppose it. So then we all went ahead and voted for it. So there'll be more discussions and things, and it can be changed next year if we don't like what comes out of the study. So just kind of want to briefly let y'all know, and thank you to the chiefs and stuff, that firemen that called me, and also Senator Wheat, and had that communication with us that it would affect locally. Also, I had HB 235 if y'all remember a few years ago that the bids was changed when the fire department would want to buy a truck, and it was up to $60,000 to go out and get the 3 bids. Well, I was contacted about that particular statute because within that statute, there was an exception for law enforcement vehicles, which this would affect all of you too, because you all have municipalities and stuff in the parish, that they still couldn't buy basically a cop car or something, or a law enforcement vehicle, only up to $40,000. So when they rewrote the bill, the statute to go up to 60 for all public, they left out the exception for the law enforcement vehicles. So I was asked to increase that. So I was actually increased it to 70,000 because they wanted to give law enforcement vehicles that extra 10,000 for the lights, the cages, and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to get that increased to 70. And while I was working on the bill, I had fire chiefs from across the state and someone from the association come to me and ask me, hey, can you throw fire trucks and apparatuses and stuff into and give us the extra $10,000 because of the lights and equipment that needs to be put on a fire truck. So we did, we amended the bill, and now, and one thing from sitting on this board new, and from the auditors and CPAs, is to make sure that specifically it said per vehicle and not like kind of across the board, so it was kind of clear in the law. So now the district going forward would be able to go out for bid up to $70,000 worth of 3 quotes and stuff. And then that also goes to all of the municipalities, and the new sheriff and all can get law enforcement vehicles up to the 70,000. They weren't limited to the 40. So just wanted to kind of let y'all know, and thank y'all.
Thank you, Kim. All right, anyone have anything else? Mr. Joseph?
I read about the baby that found the weapon under the pillow the other day, and it just broke my heart. And I thought about it. I think the Taliban had worked that. Is Donnie back there?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, I wonder where will he go if he needs to talk to somebody about that incident? I know with military, we suffer with PTSD, but there are psychologists and psychiatrists on staff that you can talk to. But who do our guys talk to? Police officers when they see these horrific incidents. Or firemen. Yeah, I mean, Donnie, that had to be a tough thing for you, man. Yeah. So I know money drives everything, but maybe we need to look at it as a board to try to give these men and women somebody to lean on when they see these horrific situations. I think a lot of fire departments have chaplains on board. I know some police departments do. But I would think that these guys suffer post-traumatic stress just like somebody in combat.
We have some resources.
You do?
We can pull on.
Good.
I know Hammond did after the bad wreck in Manchac. They had some people that did some counseling. We have some resources. It's not readily available, like somebody you can go knock on the door.
If you really need it.
Which you can call them and they'll come.
Okay. Well, I feel better about it. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, motion to adjourn, please. I'll make the motion. Thank you so much.